Hey guys, I'm Tom the Tech Chap, and this is the new Huawei Mate 40 Pro, which was just unveiled alongside the standard Mate 40 and also the Mate 40 Pro Plus. But this is the one you'd probably want to buy, and it'll set you back a cool 1,200 euros, which is about 1,100 pounds or so. So it's in the same ballpark as the Note 20 Ultra or the new iPhone 12 Pro Max, so definitely not cheap. And also, unfortunately, it's also banned in the US, so for my American friends, you won't be able to get your hands on this. So for some context, the Mate 40 is to the P40 like the Galaxy Note 20 is to the S20. A slightly bigger, slightly better, all the bells and whistles flagship phone. And with this, we've got a new design, faster processor, a 90Hz screen, 5G, a new camera setup, and the usual Android 10, but without Google Play services. So no Google Maps, no YouTube, Gmail, Play Store. Again, we're limited to using Huawei's app gallery, cloning apps from your old phone, or just downloading APKs. Definitely not ideal, but we'll come back to that. It genuinely is a gorgeous looking phone though, and a big one too, with its 6.76-inch Flex OLED display. It feels like a real refinement of last year's Mate 30 Pro. It's a little bigger, what they called the Halo ring is now the Space ring, and we've got this new Mystic Silver color, which has this lovely pearlescent effect to it. So as it catches the light differently, it changes color. Honestly, I think it's one of the best looking phones of the year. However, if you're not a fan of curved screens, then you're probably not going to love this with its 88-degree curve, but it's certainly eye-catching, and personally I do quite like it. Side by side with the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra, you can see it's just a tiny bit smaller, and we also get rounded corners, which makes it really comfortable to hold. Now, if I put the Mate 40 Pro alongside the P40 Pro and also last year's Mate 30 Pro, you can see the differences in size and design. And like the P40, we get this double hole punch cutout, which houses the dual selfie lenses with a main and a wide lens. Plus we still get the 3D face unlocking. So like the iPhone, this works really well in low light and it's still one of my favorite features. Plus we still get an in-screen fingerprint reader. We also get stereo speakers, improved haptic feedback, dual SIM card support, 5G of course, and IP68 water resistance. I am quite glad that they didn't carry over this virtual volume rocker that we got on the Mate 30 Pro last year and I wasn't a massive fan of. The good news is that we do get a traditional volume rocker on the Mate 40. So my first impression of the Mate 40 Pro was that it kind of felt like just a big brother to the P40 Pro. I had kind of hoped we'd get a 120Hz screen on this, but it's still 90, just like the P40 Pro, which is absolutely fine, and obviously coming just hot on the heels of the iPhone 12 launch, still better than that. But you could argue that Huawei's being quite smart, as the resolution on this is kind of like a halfway house between Full HD and Quad HD, and also that 90Hz is kind of like midway between 60 and 120. So you could say that maybe it doesn't quite keep up with some of the other Android flagship competition, but then again, Huawei is being quite smart balancing battery life with the smoothness and sharpness of the screen. Now speaking of Apple, I've got the iPhone 12 Pro with me here, and one of the big upgrades on this guy is their new Apple A14 chip, which is a 5nm chip if you want to get technical. As is the new Kirin 9000 that we get in the Mate 40 Pro, although this actually has the modem, the 5G part of it, built into it, so Huawei can say it's the world's first 5nm 5G chip. But it's all a little bit bittersweet because as impressive as the Kirin 9000 is, and actually historically the Kirin processors have always been quite good, unfortunately they're not able to make any more. They just simply can't source the components they need to make them. Not only that, but we also know Huawei's phones will come with their own Harmony OS next year, fully replacing Android. So last Kirin, last flagship, and even last Android phone perhaps. But we'll come back to that next year. For now, the Mate 40 Pro with the Kirin 9000 and its 8 gigs of RAM is incredibly fast. Sadly, this isn't shipping with Android 11, we're still on 10, but we do get Huawei's own EMUI 11 skin on top. Now I do like EMUI, it doesn't feel quite as fast as say a OnePlus with Oxygen OS, or of course stock Android, but it's still fast and nice to use. They've also upgraded the always-on display, which they're now calling EOD or eyes-on display, which saves battery by popping up only when it detects you're actually looking at it. And it genuinely works quite well. I really like these kind of innovations. Air gestures have made a return as well, although I can't say I ever particularly use them. Although multi-window mode does come in useful. I really wish the iPhone had something like this. As for battery life, well again this is something the Mate series have always been known for, and inside we have a 44 mAh battery, which actually is the same size as last year's Mate 30 Pro, and also 200 mAh bigger than the P40 Pro. So on the one hand, the 90Hz screen will probably drain it a little bit quicker than last year, but then we also have that more efficient Kirin 9000, so it'll probably even out. And so far it's actually been really good. I tend to end up with about 35% of my battery left at the end of a normal day. And then the best bit is you can charge it incredibly fast. This comes with a new 66-watt super charger, and it also now supports pretty ridiculous 50-watt wireless charging, wireless supercharging, although you will need to buy Huawei's specific wireless supercharger to get the most out of it. And like before, it also supports reverse wireless charging, so you can top up other devices on top. Okay, so I've left the best until last, because when you think of Huawei phones, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Other than the Android App Store issues, it's the camera, because consistently Huawei offers some of the best cameras you can get on any phone. And I actually said back in March, April time, earlier in the year, which feels like a million years ago, the P40 Pro here I said had the best photography camera you could get. And so here we're getting a very similar setup with a 50 megapixel main lens, a 20 megapixel ultra wide, 12 megapixel periscope lens, which gives us 5 times optical zoom, and finally a time of flight 3D depth sensor. And as you'd expect with the big sensor, there are YYB color and pixel binning. Quality is top notch, and this goes toe to toe with the iPhone 12 Pro, and in some cases comes out on top for pure image quality and detail. Although I do feel like the competition has caught up a little when it comes to night mode, but it still does a really good job. Although I think the iPhone just about beats it. And then here's a few shots with the front camera, where we also get an ultra-wide lens, although ideally you'd use it to get selfies with a bunch of your mates, but, you know, these days and social distancing and all that. Now this is the point in the video where we have to address the elephant in the room, and you may even see here on my home screen that the YouTube app actually has a little web icon in the corner, and that's because you can't get a YouTube app. You can't even install the APK, it requires the Google Play Store. So I basically had to make a web shortcut of YouTube, which isn't ideal. So Huawei's app gallery is growing fast, like over 300% year on year, but I'm still not finding most of the apps that I want. So most of the time I still have to download APKs, which isn't really ideal for updates and security. Things are slowly getting better though. Their Petal Search and new Petal Maps are filling the gap. But the bigger issue is that even if the ecosystem and the Huawei app gallery get a lot better, with the problems around the new Kirin processor and the fact that right now there isn't one, and the questions over what Harmony OS will look like compared to these Android phones, there's a lot of unknowns. And so if you're looking to spend 1,200 euros on a new phone for the next 2 or 3 years, there's no guarantees what the situation is going to be like and if it's even going to be worth investing in their ecosystem, as hard as they are genuinely trying to improve it and make it the big third option to, you know, Apple's iOS App Store and Google's Play Store. So it's a confusing phone. I genuinely love it. The hardware is fantastic. I really do appreciate that despite all the setbacks, Huawei continue to innovate and bring out these fantastic devices, but the app situation, the uncertainty, and also the pretty high price tag, as I say, you could get a Note 20 Ultra or iPhone 12 Pro Max for similar money, is making it a little bit hard to recommend. But this is just a first impressions video, and who knows what could happen over the next 6-12 months politically and also in terms of their app store, so stay tuned, lots more videos to come. But in the meantime, what do you think of the Mate 40 Pro? Would you be tempted to buy it? And is the app situation a big concern for you, or can you get pretty much everything you need on here already? Let me know in the comments below. And if you did enjoy this video and you don't mind helping me get to that 1 million subscriber mark, I know I keep banging on about this in every video now, but I'm trying to get there before Christmas, then it'd be amazing if you could hit that little subscribe button down below, bash that like icon, all those horrible YouTuber cliches. And I'll see you guys next time right here on the Tech Chat.